In November of 1890, a quiet California community went to sleep believing it was safe. By morning, that belief was gone. A man was dead. No clear answers followed, only fear, speculation, and a verdict so vague it offered no peace at all. The jury would later say his death came by an unknown hand. This is not a story about justice served. It is a story about uncertainty, about rumors that spread faster than facts, and about a murder that newspapers reported. The reports appeared in print on November 11th, 1890. They described a violent death near Merced, California. The victim's name was John Ivet. Very little was written about the details of his life, what he did for work, who he trusted, or what his days looked like before they abruptly ended. What mattered to the newspapers was the mystery surrounding his death. The article stated plainly that the Ivet murder mystery still remained unsolved. That single sentence speaks volumes. From the very beginning, authorities did not have clear answers. There was no named suspect, no explanation that satisfied the public, only uncertainty. The article went on to describe the mood of the town. It said the people were greatly excited, and that the wildest rumors were circulating. In the late 19th century, news traveled quickly in small communities. There were no radios, no televisions, no instant updates. Information passed from person to person or from print to conversation, often changing along the way. And when official details were scarce, imagination filled the empty spaces. Speculation became entertainment. Suspicion became dangerous. Not long after the murder, an inquest was held. At the time, an inquest was a formal inquiry into a death. It was conducted by a coroner and a small jury of local citizens. Its purpose was not necessarily to identify a killer, but to determine how a person died. According to the newspaper, the inquest was held in Snelling, a nearby town. But what followed was unsettling. The article noted that nothing had been heard from Snelling, where the inquest was held. No findings were released. No explanation was offered to the public. Just silence. That silence mattered. When an inquest ends without answers, it leaves behind questions, and questions, when unanswered, breed fear. Despite the lack of official conclusions, the article did reveal one troubling detail. It stated that 3 persons were suspected of the crime. No names were given, no ages, no occupations, no relationships to the victim. Only this brief line. They were now being closely watched by detectives. In a small town, those words would have echoed loudly. In an era before forensic science, investigations depended on witness accounts, personal reputation, and circumstantial evidence. Being suspected did not mean guilt, and being watched did not guarantee arrest. But suspicion alone was often enough to alter lives. Neighbors watched neighbors. Conversations became cautious. Trust eroded quietly. One detail in the article stands out sharply. It stated that Mrs. Ivet arrived from San Francisco the night before, and that the funeral was held the following day. This detail tells us several important things. She was not present at the time of the murder. The death was sudden, unexpected. Travel in 1890 was slow and exhausting. Her return suggests urgency, shock, and grief. She came home not to answers, but to rumors, and the funeral followed quickly. There was little time to reflect, only time to bury the dead. Then came the final update. At the end of the report, almost as an afterthought, the newspaper added one final line. Later, the jury returned a verdict of death by an unknown hand. That phrase is chilling. It confirms the death was not accidental, but it also confirms that no one could be legally blamed. There would be no arrest, no trial, no conviction. The case was officially closed, without resolution. In the late 19th century, this was not unusual. There were no fingerprint databases, no DNA testing, no surveillance cameras. If witnesses stayed silent or evidence was weak, the truth could disappear, sometimes forever. In small communities, silence was often intentional. Accusations could destroy families, livelihoods, and reputations. When certainty was impossible, juries sometimes chose ambiguity. A verdict like death by an unknown hand allowed the legal process to end without tearing the community apart, at least on the surface. Today, all that remains is what the newspapers recorded: a violent death, an inquest that revealed little, 3 unnamed suspects, and a jury unwilling or unable to name a killer. The questions remain. Who killed John Yvette? Why were 3 people suspected? What evidence existed, but was never shared? We don't know. What became of the case after this report? The article does not say. It captures only one moment in time: a violent death, a community unsettled, and questions left unanswered. Old newspapers don't always give us the full story. Sometimes they give us a snapshot, a glimpse into fear, into uncertainty, into a moment when a community realized that answers were still out of reach. These stories survive not because they were solved, but because they were recorded, because someone wrote them down, and because people continue to read them and remember them. If you'd like to hear more forgotten cases drawn from old newspapers, you're welcome to leave a comment or quietly support the channel. Your engagement helps keep these moments from the past from fading completely into silence. Thank you for listening.